From the party leaders, leader of the UKIP group, Neil Hamilton.
The First Minister will know that the Welsh economy is worth about £60 billion a year, and of that, 38 billion is accounted for by public expenditure between the UK government and the Welsh government, about two-thirds of the total. Does he agree with me that there is an urgent need for greater diversification? We do need to get more private capital into Wales to generate more wealth, to raise the tax base, and therefore to have the opportunity to spend more on schools, hospitals, etc. And that's why the decision on the Circuit of Wales was particularly disappointing, because that was a project which offered £350 million worth of private capital to come into Wales. And now that isn't going to happen, instead of which we're going to spend another £100 million worth of taxpayers' money on an empty industrial park. Is this not an indictment of the Welsh Government that after 20 years we've gone backwards rather than gone forwards?
Well, the point I make about the circuit is that the circuit needed a government guarantee at the very least. Now, if the circuit was in a stronger financial position, it wouldn't need that guarantee. What we have done is to move forward with a technology park. It's based on discussions we've had with potential investors. It's based on the fact that for some time it's been difficult to attract investment into some parts of Wales because of a lack of buildings where people can actually base themselves. And thirdly, of course, it'll have a heavy emphasis on skills. The last thing we want is for jobs to be created, but for local people not to be able to access those jobs. And the Technology Park will deliver in all those areas.
Well, the Technology Park will just deliver a set of empty buildings. There is no interest in those buildings that the First Minister can point to, which gives any guarantee that they'll be occupied for any automotive firm or any other firm, actually. Whereas at least with a world-class racetrack, in the light of decisions which might be made in Silverstone, where Formula One could move away, then this is an obvious hub to form a cluster of related industries. Without that, there is little prospect that this will be any more successful than the Ebervale Enterprise Zone in attracting jobs to a part of the world which desperately needs them.
Well, as I've said, the reality is this: we have spoken to potential investors. There is interest. We're not looking to put a building up there which won't be filled. The reason why we're moving ahead as we are is because we have taken some days, and we have listened to companies such as TVR, who are coming to Ebervale, and others who are interested in creating that automotive cluster. They all said to us that a circuit was not essential to their business plans. And they still want to work with us to deliver those jobs. Bear in mind, of course, that the circuit itself would have created very few jobs indeed. It was the Phase 2, the technology park, which we're looking to build, which would have created most of the jobs.
Well, that's, of course, been said by the developers all along, that the great advantage of this facility was to be the centre of a much larger collection of firms which would generate jobs in the real economy of manufacturing for many, many years to come. Those jobs are now more speculative than before, but instead of a government guarantee which might never be called upon, we now have an actual promise by the Welsh Government to spend real money, taxpayers' money, up to £100 million over 10 years, with no guarantee of a single job coming out of that beyond the construction phase. So shouldn't we really be doing a lot more than we are to make Wales an attractive venue for private sector investment? As I said in my first question, in order to raise the tax base so that the Welsh Government has more resources available to it to spend on all the highly desirable social objectives that we all share.
Well, I don't disagree with the point he's making. I remind you, of course, about the announcement by CAF last week of 300 jobs being created in Newport. We have just seen our best foreign direct investment figures for nigh on 30 years. It's a sign that Wales is a place that businesses want to invest in, that we are getting better jobs. In the early 90s, investment was attracted into Wales on the basis that we had the lowest wage rates in Western Europe. Those days are long gone, nor should they ever return. We are increasingly able to attract jobs into Wales on the basis that our people have the skills that are required, that, to quote Aston Martin, we have a government with pride and passion in terms of selling Wales to the world, and the results that we see for FDI speak for themselves.